Mike Stelzner from Social Media Examiner, and I'm joined today by Mark Schaefer,
Yes.
who's the author of two excellent books. The newest one is Return on Influence, and also The Tao of Twitter. He's also a professor at Rutgers, and his website is businessesgrow.com. Mark, how you doing today?
I couldn't be better. I'm really enjoying my time here and great meeting you.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about return on influence. What does that mean?
Return on influence, it's a great question because people think, oh my gosh, it's another metric. Schaefer's coming up with another metric. But really what it means is that, and this is so much in what you've written about too, Mike, is that the power and influence we can create with our content and igniting that content. And it's such an exciting time that that it doesn't matter where you live, who you are, what you look like, or what the color of your skin is. You can have influence now. You can find your return on influence through your content. It's an amazing time because now we have widespread access to the high-speed internet. We've got these free, easy-to-use publishing tools like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and blogging, and anybody can find their voice. Anybody can publish and find their influence.
So let's talk about, I understand influence, but the return on part, let's examine that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's the business benefits that you can accrue, and I've got lots of different case studies in the book.
Share a little example.
Where both individuals are finding their power and brands and companies are tapping into that as well. So one example was there was this mommy blogger I feature in the book who started blogging because she became depressed. She was struggling with depression. And she got this great audience of people that just loved her. They loved her compassion and how authentic she was in her blog.
And it resonated with her, right?
It resonated. Well, it wasn't just the other mommy bloggers that were listening. There was this World Vision organization was watching this amazing content and watching how she was connecting with her audience. And they said, we would like to fly you to Bolivia. We want you to blog from Bolivia and talk about the things that you see in the orphanages down there. We're trying to make some things happen with them. So here's this mommy blogger. They fly her to Bolivia. She starts blogging down there. And she got 150 children sponsored through World Vision organization through her blog.
That's awesome.
But there are lots of corporate examples too. One short one that I think is clever is that a lot of companies are now figuring very creative ways to use these clout scores. And so one example is Burson Marsteller, biggest PR firm in the world. Their big customer was a bank, and the bank was in crisis. A blogger got a hold of this misinformation and calculated that the bank was about to go bankrupt and started blogging about this. So 5 years ago, your Burson Marsteller, what would you do? You'd have a press conference. You'd hope that the media would spin it the right way, that they would hear the right sound bites, that you would be talking to the right reporter. Burson Marsteller looked at the clout scores, how well these people can move their content, and they concluded that the clout scores were very low, and they said, this content isn't going to move. It's going to die. Let's do nothing.
Interesting.
Instead of creating more conversation and putting more attention on this, let's ignore it because this is going to die. And they were almost using this measure of social influence as a predictive model. And they were right. They did nothing and it died.
Very, very cool. So you mentioned clout scores. So let's talk a little bit about clout and social scoring. And how does it fit into a business's social media strategy? How should businesses leverage this kind of stuff?
Yeah. Well, just think how powerful it is instead of taking out an ad in a newspaper saying, I have a sandwich shop and we have the most delicious sandwiches in town. Having someone, a powerful influencer, word-of-mouth influencer, who blogs about food, loves to blog about food, and when they blog about food or post about food or Instagram about food, people just go crazy. How powerful would it be to have that person in your shop, eating your sandwich, telling the world how great it is, and having that sort of impact? And a lot of the traditional ways that companies are used to advertising and marketing to their customers are drying up. In adjusted for inflation, advertising dollars in a newspaper are down in like 1950s levels. The new generation, the new media generation coming up is watching half as much television as you know, the older generation is. The latest data shows. So a lot of these ways are drying up. So as businesses, we've got to find new ways to connect, and authentic ways to connect, and organic ways to connect. So, I mean, a lot of people, you know, clout is almost becoming like Kleenex now. I mean, you want a tissue, you call it a Kleenex.
Right.
And the whole social scoring thing, a lot of people call it clout scores. But I think businesses, I think, need to see the trend, need to see the math and the science that's going on behind this to be able to try to identify these word-of-mouth influencers, because in the past it was very difficult and expensive to find these people.
Right.
And now with all the data coming at us through the social web, we can assess that a lot more quickly.
Let's say I'm a business owner and I'm trying to figure out how to improve my influence. Or I'm an individual, or I'm a consultant, or I'm a book author.
Yeah.
What do I do?
There are three things that you can do, really, and there's a lot of academic research on this, actually. I mean, we don't know what clout's secret formula is, and we never will, right? But because this is such a hot business topic, a lot of universities are researching this, or researching these, you know, important new connections between people on the web. And so there are basically three things that you can do. And this is going to sound very familiar to you. Number one, you've got to surround yourself with people who care about you, who want to share your content, will help ignite your content. The research shows that in general, people don't like to share. I mean, they just kind of go throughout their day. It's got to be something really great. So you've got to mindfully, systematically surround yourself with people who have some predisposition to be interested in you or your business. Second thing you need to do is to create meaningful content. Create or aggregate meaningful content. Content is the catalyst. You wrote a book about it. Your book is in my book as a best practice. But you've got to be able to create this content. You've got to be able to ignite this content. And in the book, I give lots of examples. And the formula I use with my classes is I try to have my students think about content in terms of RITE. It's easy to remember, right? Relevant, interesting, timely, entertaining. If you put your content through that lens consistently, I think you'll be able to create shareable content. And entertaining is the most difficult one, because we don't think about in our companies, how can we be more entertaining today? And then the last thing is you've got to engage. You can't just stalk. Social media is social. Right. It's not B2B, it's not B2C, it's P2P, it's person to person.
Right.
And if you just, you know, broadcast, if you don't engage, so if you do those three things, the influence scores should take care of themselves. And the irony is, that's the same advice you would give one of your clients, or I would give one of my clients. Do those three things, and you'll have a better effectiveness on the web, and it also increases your clout scores.
Let's switch gears quickly to Twitter. What do you think about Twitter? I know you wrote a book about Twitter. Is it still important today? Where does it kind of fit into things, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think Twitter is just amazing. Twitter is like business networking on steroids. And if you look at some of the new statistics out, the thing I think that's exciting is it's beginning to be adopted by new demographics. So historically, it has not been strongly adopted by young people. And it's funny that there's all of a sudden in the last 18 months, there are more and more young people coming onto Twitter. And I think this is the best explanation I've ever heard. I asked this young lady, and they said, well, we really enjoy Twitter now because mom and grandma are on Facebook. So we're going where the conversation is. So you want to see our pictures and our videos, that's on Facebook. But if you want the juicy conversations, that's going to be on Twitter, because that's where the action is, and mom can't see what we're doing.
Interesting.
And it's also picking up traction internationally, growing very, very quickly internationally. So I think it continues to be important, there's just so many unusual and amazing ways that people are using Twitter today, far beyond, I think, what the founders ever imagined. So I think the future for Twitter is bright, and it's so simple. It's so simple, it's easy.
It's like a building block.
Yeah, and you could just fit it into your day whenever you want to. So it's kind of like the perfect social platform.
Mark, if people want to check out your new book or learn more about you, where would you send them?
Well, you can Google Mark W. Schaefer, and you'll find all my places. But my My website is businessesgrow.com. I've got a great blog there that I enjoy and a fantastic community. And on Twitter, I'm at Mark W. Schaefer, the name no one can spell. You can see it down there, spelled the right way.
There you go.
And my book, Return on Influence, is available in bookstores everywhere.
Mark Schaefer, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Mike.